Hey, beautiful people, it's Aisha from Life, Love, and Lessons, and I'm popping back in. I wanted to talk about something, so I want to just, before I even really get into this, I want to paint a picture for you, okay? So imagine you're in the forest, right? And you're walking through, and it's twilight, so it's getting a little dark, and you hear a sound that you've never quite heard before, and as you get closer to it, you start to notice that it sounds like something is in distress. When you get all the way close, you see it's a bird. And the bird is squawking and is fighting furiously to get out of this net. And the bird is literally like spending all of its energy to get out of the net. And as you go closer, it starts thrashing even more. And your instinct tells you that you should help. So you go to try to take the net off of the bird, and the bird attacks you. Now let's break away to where I'm going with this. When we think about people, especially people who are in relation with, a lot of us are like the wounded bird in a trap. When we are hurt, when we are scared, when we are lost, when we are wounded in some type of way, it's probably the most dangerous time that you would go to help somebody, because a lot of times you'll have almost instinctually, like the bird in the net, the bird goes for attack because they're not sure about your intentions. They don't know you, maybe per se, or maybe they've even seen you before and they do know you, but they're in a time of crises, in a time of crisis, and they don't know how to get out of it. Hence, when we are as people wounded and have, this sense of being trapped, a lot of times we lash out. Sometimes it's unintentionally because you're driving off of fumes. You're basically moving off of instinct. You're moving off of, you know, adrenaline. You're moving off of past hurt. You're moving off of memories. You're moving off of recollection of people who may have been in your circle who you thought were there to help you, but they were there to hurt you, or they were the source of the hurt. And so I think it's important that we think about when we have people that are around us that are constantly lashing out, that we start to look at them maybe even a little bit differently. Now, here's my thing. I don't believe that regardless of what feelings or emotions you have, to lash out at people is, generally wrong. I think we can all pretty much agree with that. But I think it's important that we as people, when we are in relation with one another, we want to try to understand the people that we are tied to, the people that we are around. And one of the ways in which we're able to do that is to understand where somebody might be coming from, or why their behavior is such a way. Now, here's the thing that I like to say, because I don't believe in people getting a free ride or a free pass because you were wounded or you were hurt or you're in a state of crisis to lash out and hurt people. But you know the saying that hurt people hurt people. And it's so true. And so, yes, it doesn't excuse behavior. It doesn't allow you to be in this world and to just, at free will, just hurt people and lash out at people and abuse people. It does in no means give you the right or the authority to do such a thing. But I think that if we delve into people's stories, and listen, at the end of the day, a lot of us don't have time to do that. If you meet a stranger in the street and they're lashing out, sometimes you're gonna walk away. You might become engaged with them. You're not trying to delve into what's going on with them. But I'm talking about somebody that's in your circle. I'm talking about somebody that you care about. I'm talking about that little brother or that little sister. I'm talking about that coworker. I'm talking about, that the neighbor. I'm talking about the people that are in our circles that we might not have a full understanding of. I'm talking about your lovers. You know, we have to start to, and don't get me wrong, some of us do this, but the way in which we look at each other needs to be with more compassion, needs to be with more understanding. Recently I was watching a series, and on the series there's a young lady who is, in a group of professionals, and every time you turn around she's just going off, and it's at the point where she's alienated herself, that people don't even want to be around her, because every time you turn around it's a problem, and she doesn't take any responsibility for the problem. That's one of the issues. And the other issue is that she just kind of pops off, and she just says whatever, does whatever, and she's hurting people along her path. But some of her backstory is that she comes from hurt and disappointment and pain from childhood. And like I said, in no means, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not excusing anybody's behavior, because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. But I think that we have to be aware of what drives behavior. And a lot of times, behavior that hurts other people comes from a place of hurt. So now once we have an understanding of that, now there's work that has to be done. Just as with anything, it's just like, having an understanding of, you not being a producer, enough of a producer at work. You can understand it, you can know why it happens, but then you still have to do something. Maybe you need to get more sleep so you can move faster, or maybe you need to go back to school and get more training so that you can move more efficiently in your role. Whatever it is. The same thing applies for us when we are in relation with other people. The same thing applies for us when we have things that we need to work on. We have to acknowledge that there's an issue first and foremost. And then the next thing is to figure out a strategy to help said issue. And, I think a lot of us are just running around scared and hurt and lashing out in our own way. And especially when you're in relation with these people, especially when you're, and I don't want to say these people, because we all have our moments when we do this, and if you don't, then you're one of the lucky ones. I'll say that much, because we all have our stuff. We all have things that we need to work on. We all have, flaws. And for the most part, I would say, a lot of people have things that have happened to them and around them that have an effect on their thought process, have an effect on their behavior, have an effect on how they have relationships with other people. This particular girl, it came out that she, her mom must have been on drugs. And so her mom was away from her. And she even said that, like, she wants to have relationships with women, but it always becomes problematic. And I think, part of the work that she needs to do is she needs to acknowledge her role. Acknowledge that people don't necessarily want to be bothered with her because of her attitude, because of the way that she talks to people, because of the way that she'll go from 0 to 10 in 2.2 seconds. How many of us are like that? And yeah, when you're stuck in something, whether it's, childhood trauma or just trauma, whether you're stuck in, abuse, whether you're stuck in, rage or whatever it is, instinctually a lot of us are doing that lash out. And even when somebody comes in our circle and they genuinely want to help us, they want to pull that net off of us so our wings can be free, we'll attack them because we don't know how to receive it, or we don't trust enough to receive it, Or we don't believe that somebody would help us and not want to hurt us. Or we don't believe that somebody would want to help us and not expect anything back from us. And that's a problematic way to live, because how do you let somebody in if you have so much distrust, so much angst, so much anxiety, so much, you know, dash expectation, so much distrust? What kind of living in life is that? And the truth of the matter is that a lot of us are walking around in that. And that to me is just so saddening. It's not life, it's not living. We were all put here for a purpose, and I truly believe that. And I think that when we are not within our purpose, when we are not where we need to be, you feel that in your soul. And for a lot of us, there's a constant strive to just get to where it is. You just feel like, it's like having an itch that you just can't reach because you just don't even know where it is. Like, you can't even ask somebody to help you. You just don't know where to even begin. Like, I'm unsettled, like I'm bothered. And so that's when we have to sit down with ourselves, or sit down with the people that are in our tribe that we can trust, or sit down with a professional, a therapist, or a life coach, or another professional, a friend, a sister, a brother, a teacher, a parent. Sit down with somebody that's going to help us until we can get to the point where we can help ourselves. And that's just, a lot of us have this going on. And it saddens me because to me it becomes evident. And the sad thing is that sometimes what happens is, if you keep on with the same behavior over and over again, after a while people don't want to be bothered. Some people only give you one shot and you blow up on them, and I said, nope, I'm not dealing with this person no more. I don't have nothing else to do with him. I don't have nothing else to do with her. We're not inviting her to any more cookouts, or he's not invited to any more functions. And then you further alienated yourself, and now you're out in the woods in that net with no save, squawking, crying out for help, and there's nobody to come for the save. But the save is within us. The save is understanding that if this is an issue, that it comes from somewhere. And even if you can't or won't fully acknowledge where it comes from, then address it. Lay it to rest. So then that way you can, as they say, live your best life. You can have peace of mind and be able to reach your potential. Be able to, get to where it is that you need to be. And maybe you can be that one that's going to help somebody else get to the next plane and the next level of themselves if you done for yourself. Almost like a paying it forward kind of thing. That's something that we can so do. So, I think that it's important when we see people that are in our circle, in our tribe, in our vicinity even, and we can help them to get to that point. Now, the thing is that the person has to want to be helped, and that part I understand. And I think we all understand anything that forces or requires change within ourselves. Like, it has to be something that you want to do. Otherwise, it might happen, but it might not be long lasting. And so, but it's gonna take work. I'm not here to say that it's not gonna take work, because it's definitely absolutely gonna take work. There are a lot of things that I think some of us take for granted. Very few people that I speak to tell me that, like, I have very little that I can, complain about, or, I'm amazed when I hear people say, like, I had a wonderful childhood, or, I haven't had any real traumas in my life. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it definitely happens, but I think that we also have to be aware of when certain situations color us, Are they coloring us for the worst? Are they coloring us for the better? Not everything has to be taken for the negative. Things can be taken and can be for our benefit, for our positive. And even in negative situations, that energy can be taken and turned around into a positive situation. You know, a lot of things that, come out of the darkness started in dark, but it made it to the positive end of things. And it's possible. And I think that's the part that, you know, we might forget about, that this is all possible. It's reachable. The only time when it's not workable is when we're not here anymore. So I say, while you still can draw breath, while you still have opportunities to mend fences with people, while you still have opportunities to be a part of a tribe, to, welcome other people in around you in your circle, or to be welcomed into a whole nother circle, that there may be things that we need to take on and that we need to do so that our behavior is not excusable, might be explainable, but not excusable. And then we start to move in our purpose. We start to move in our positive. We start to move in our own light. How awesome would that be? I think about, for myself personally, you know, I'm sorry, I think I saw something in my teeth on this video, which is crazy. But you know, life is just fun. I don't know. Life is just funny. Life is really funny. I think that, we have all these life experiences for reasons. I don't think anything happens by accident. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a coincidence. There's no such thing as accidents as far as this life is concerned. You know, it's really about how we take in these experiences and what are we doing with them? Are we using them to grow from, or are we using them to stay stuck? And I think the problem is that a lot of us stay stuck. And yeah, a lot of people say it's easy to say, oh, well, just get over it. And I'm not even saying that, because there's a lot of things that we go through, that people go through, that you can't just get over. It just doesn't happen like that, no matter how much time, space, and distance happen between what it is that's causing the upset in your life. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, just forget about it, or, just forgive it and just leave it alone. I think that's one step in the journey, but that's not the end all be all, because it's healing that has to happen. Once that net is off of you, once you're free, but your wing might be ruffled or might be broken. And so now how do you fly again? You got to heal first. That's the way out. That's the way to true freedom. I wrote a piece called Heal That Shit. Sometimes you gotta heal that shit before you can move on to the next thing. And I think a lot of times our past hurts definitely color our behavior. They color how we receive people and how we perceive people. How many times have you, judged somebody on the basis of somebody else's actions? Whether it was, a past love. Now all the dudes that come in your space, you're like, yo, I don't want to hear nothing these dudes got to say, because dudes don't tell the truth. And Mr. Right could be right there and you pass them up because, why? Because that past hurt is coloring how you're looking at all the men that are around. Blinds you. He might be dope as I don't know what, and you can't even see it because you're blinded by past hurt. You're blinded by distrust. You're blinded by, memories of what happened or what used to happen. All the men that you were with never treated you right. So why would this one be different? And he could be. You got to heal that. Not all women are gold diggers, as some of these dudes seem to think. I have a friend, you know, he talks about, oh, women are this and women are that. And it's like, okay, but what role do you play? What are you bringing into this? What energy are you bringing to the table? That's bringing or drawing this near to you. You're saying that these women are gold diggers. What is it that you're putting out there as well? We have to think about this because it's not just a one-sided thing. And I think it's real easy for us to play the blame game and to, make it that it's them. Well, no, they're this and they're that. But what about the energy that you're exuding? Are you doing too much too soon? You being real flashy, and nothing wrong with being flashy, but you gotta know who you're doing this with. You just met this chick and already you're like, flashing your money, you're buying gifts and stuff. What do you think is gonna happen if you have that type of behavior? I know a lot of people that are not gonna say no to a gift. And then it becomes a cycle that after a while, you want to get out of because it's draining your pockets or it's draining you because you feel like things are not being reciprocated to you. But look at how it started. You made it a monetary thing from the get up. And not to say, I'm not trying to say like, if you find somebody that you're into and you're vibing out with them, I'm not saying don't do what you do. But I think that we have to be accountable as well. We have to understand of what we're drawing. Who we pulling towards us. Because energy is serious, y'all. Like, and it's crazy because I go on Instagram sometimes and I listen to people's posts and stuff, and a lot more people were talking about energy. I don't know, maybe I'm just noticing it a lot more because I did not notice it before. I think that energy is a real thing, and it's a flowing thing. It's something that goes in between and throughout all of us. There are exchanges of energy that happen all throughout, even within ourselves. And so we have to think about what energies are we giving off. What are we drawing to us? I like to say, when we think about relationships, right? If you've had 4 men or 4 women or 4 relationships and they all ended badly, if you are the common denominator, maybe there's something you need to examine about yourself. What are you bringing to the table? What energies are you bringing? Are you the wounded person in this relationship that keeps bringing up all this past stuff that's coloring how you're behaving in the relationship? And now that you're wounding somebody that's right next to you, that loves you, that cares for you, but you can't quite see it or you don't quite believe it because you're still on the fumes of what happened to you in your past. You keep having the same patterns and the same behaviors, thinking that things are going to be different because it's a different person, but the person that needs to be different is you. What about that right there? So I think that it's important that we identify what the issues are and be open to the idea that some of it is us. I had to I'm like, as much as I would like to believe that I don't do stuff wrong, yes, I mess up sometimes. I have to acknowledge when I did the wrong thing or I made the wrong choice or said the wrong words or did things the wrong way. Acknowledgement is the first step. And then there's more work that comes behind it. Right? We have to be able to, make better choices, mend fences, do the things that we need to do so then that way people can trust us. That way people want to be within our tribe and vice versa. So that's just some food for thought for today. But hurt people hurt people. And as cliche as it sounds, as rampant as this saying is, it's a truth that a lot of us are living. And even if you don't want to, and a lot of times people that are hurt don't want to hurt people. It's not even like an intentional thing. Like you sitting at home like thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna just mess up their day. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. A lot of times it's not even like that. So why are we not giving people a little bit more space to see, having conversations with people so that they can, even understand it? If we can safely do that for one another, if you can safely do that for a loved one, to help them to get out of that trap of this is heavy. It's some heavy weight to bear. And a lot of people go to their grave still bearing that weight, never letting it go, not forgiving things that have happened in childhood or, to them and around them. And what kind of life is that? To be wounded and walking around wounded. And nobody comes to the rescue because they just know that you're going to lash out. It's not an existence. At least not a positive one. So I love you guys. I thank you guys for listening. Feel free to leave me a comment or, chime in. But I thank you guys for listening. I love you. I wish you nothing but peace, light, joy. I wish you your way out of your net if you have a net over your life. And I pray that we can do this together. Feel free to hit me up, you guys. I love you.